Why should U.S. taxpayers empty their pockets to fund elite universities that don't exactly open their gates to average Americans? It's a question that even Professor Scott Galloway of NYU is now asking.
So I believe that if you are not growing your freshman class faster than population growth and you have an endowment over $1 billion, I think you should lose your tax-free status. Because you're no longer a public servant, you're a hedge fund with classes. This artificial scarcity we manufacture, we could let in more people. Hermes does this. Those bags are not hard to produce. They purposely choke supply, so does Panerai, to create the illusion of scarcity, such that it creates aspirational luxury value and you can raise tuition faster than inflation.
Chris Cillizza, journalist, NewsNation contributor, senior advisor at the DGA Group, with us now.
Hey, dude.
Good to see you.
Happy Friday. I'll beat you to it.
This is one of those institutions that is unpopular, that Donald Trump, unpopular with most of America, elite institutions, that Donald Trump is taking an axe to and forcing Democrats to defend.
Yeah, when we've talked about this before, he's good at putting Democrats in a spot. We talked about this with USAID, you know, and other big government funded
Boys
things.
and girls bathrooms.
Right. He's good at picking fights where I'm not sure he's totally right, but if you're not paying that much attention to it, you're like, oh, that doesn't make sense. I'll be totally honest with you. I'll admit my own ignorance. I had no idea that these universities got that amount of federal money. And if I didn't, who spent, not that I'm a genius, but I've spent a long time covering politics in this town, I guarantee you the average person doesn't do it. So, yeah, can I make one slight disagreement? Some of that money, and I don't know how much, and I don't think they need all of it, but some of that money at big places is going to some research, which I do not think is the worst thing in the world, scientific health research.
Right. So they're going to medical research.
It's not all bad. It's just a lot of money.
I think we're at a time where so many institutions in America, call it everything from big banks to big legacy media to big institutions, universities with endowments larger than some country's GDP. Albania's GDP, $23 billion. Harvard, $53 billion. Okay,
amazing.
They don't need any of our money. Okay, and they're getting a tax break because the endowment grows tax-free. But that the institutions in America sort of got so fat on the pork on the pork barrel buffet, they so overstepped in so many different ways that it's very easy now to want to cut them down to size.
Yeah, and you know,
it's not just about money; it's about their intrusion into people's lives.
Yes, and I also do think, look, I went to a high-end university for college, and there is a kind of unity of thought that goes on there that I think they would benefit from, to Professor Galloway's point, expanding the clientele of people who can go to those places. I'm entirely in favor of that. If you've ever spent more than an hour on a college campus in the last 10 years, I mean, it's like...
Well, hold on. To be fair, we got to be precise what we're talking about, right? Because these universities have spent an enormous amount of money and an even more amount of lip service to DEI, right? Diversity, equity, and inclusion. What they haven't decided is to have any diversity of thought, and that's a very different thing.
And that's the thing that I taught at my alma mater, Georgetown. I taught there in the fall. It was on campaign journalism. You know, I mean, maybe a controversial subject for some, but it was mostly nuts and bolts stuff. But, like, that's the thing to me is, like, the thing that it reminded me of, college should be a place where you're having a diversity of thought. Now, none of us want hate speech. None of us want people to feel uncomfortable to go to class. But there is something to be said.
You should feel uncomfortable in class.
You should have your views challenged in an intellectual, thoughtful way. That's part of how we get... Look, I think we need more of that as adults, candidly. You know, I think people are now in these silos and bubbles, right? Yeah. But it is a thing. Like, I think there is a nervousness in higher education to say, like, well, this isn't the only view. There are a lot of views, and one of the great things about college is you're exploring what the various views are out there because you're forming your own views. That's how I mean,
so
that's
Trump
how I think it should be.
Trump
That's
says
not
he's
the
not
funding thing, obviously. I know I took us on a
But
sidetrack.
I think
Thanks for watching. Go to joinnn.com to find NewsNation on your television provider. And don't forget to click the red subscribe button below to get more of NewsNation's fact-driven, unbiased coverage.